Hey my Immortal Nerds, Barbarian is still the go-to class and recently there is a lot of content available for us, mostly focused around the new hammer essence. But in my last video I promised you a PvE damage guide, and here we are. In this guide I will show you the current highest damage per second and per minute build that is actually easy to play. But while creating this video I still feel like it was lacking something and it felt just like another build video. So I said, okay, why not make it a full melee damage guide containing all possible settings you can do in this game to maxing your output. And why only PvE? Let's talk about some PvP stuff as well. Lots of infos waiting for you: pets, gem ranking, Paragon Trees, Reforge Settings and much more, including of course the updated 300 DPM Barbarian build. So guys, what can you expect in this video? With an example build of our best class, the Barbarian, I prepared a 300 million damage per minute build for you that is focused on heavy damage output from your primary attack. So all of the stuff I'm going to show you starts with primary focus, then damage focus in general, and then other nice to know things around each topic. I know there was a recent video from Auroth with a heavy DPS hammer build. It is of course an alternative to this one, but in my opinion more for demonstration purpose. Especially on mobile it is tough to play, and I think if Mobilox would have used this build, his damage output would have been even higher. This one in the end is an all-round build you could use for all PvE content. We will cover now the gear, so every legendary essence you have to use, the gems with a full ranking of each gem to give you an idea of how you could utilize your gems that you actually have, the sets, all of the sets to show you which is for a DPS purpose, for a crowd purpose, for a PvP purpose. We go through all of them. Pets, how to build your individual PvE pet that gives you a high damage output. Paragons, each of the trees for PvE damage, for farming, for PvP and so on. We go through the stats, so what should you focus on, which items should you take, 3-stat, 2-stat, whatever. Runes, which is really important nowadays, it's a new topic. How do you upgrade them, which one should you use, or at least should you have. Charms and curse, the best combos, and of course the reforges to give you an idea in which combination could you work the best way for your barbarian or for your melee class to get the highest damage, or to become a tank, or to be a mixed fighter in the PvP. Let's start with the gear. We want to know which legendary essences you should use for each of your classes that you actually play. So for that, please check out those very cool content creators on YouTube. They are covering nearly all of the classes, okay? So if you look for something for the monk, you can go to Killswitch. He's very good with monks. He knows his stuff, and I screened the recent videos for all of them, and those are the ones. But as soon as you type in your class, Diablo Immortal, your class, and DPS or damage build or whatever, you find a good video for that. Okay, you have Harbo covering the Tempest and the Demon Hunter. Currently, you have a Sid Gang who is on the Blood Knight. Auroth, of course, doing nice videos for Necromancers. Apollyon for the Wizard, and yeah, there is Rygas Gaming who's doing nice videos on the Crusaders. And we have a new face in the town. Indes, he's called. Currently, he covers Barbarian builds too, and his videos are nice to watch actually. He also proposed a similar build to this one, so expect a lot of cool content coming from him in the next weeks. He's a cool guy who's very active in the community, so say hello Indes. Hi. Good. Now let's take a look at the essences combos we are using. Okay, we are looking for essences for our skills Lacerate, Wrath of the Berserker, Chain Spear, Sprint and Sunder. This is the stuff we will focus all of our essences around. And we go with our first combo. Combo means something that works very good when put together. So Ardent Fervor is an attack speed bonus for our Lacerate, so our main primary attack. 45% we get from that. Then Squirm Skull, we get another 28.5% for our primary attack. They stack not one-on-one, you do not get to like 70% or something, but they stack nicely on the Lacerate actually. And we have the Nature's Temper. The Nature's Temper that gives us a damage for every primary attack we are doing, and that deals damage to us. So it triggers our Ardent Fervor, we get that bonus from the Ardent Fervor, and we have a lot more primary attacks with that high attack speed, so it deals that additional damage, that 8500 damage, very often. First nice combo that deals a heavy blow of damage. Combo 2 is again around the Ardent Fervor and the Squirm Skull. High attack damage. We put in the Bergbreaker as a third point. It has a retaliation. That means if every primary attack we are doing from the first combo is dealing damage to us, the more damage we could actually do, the more primary attacks we can do, the more often Bergbreaker gets activated. It has a max of 0.3 attacks per second, one attack every 0.3 seconds. But that means that you need to do at least 3 attacks every second. So you need that high attack speed to actually deliver that damage. Combo 3. It's again Squirm Skull. We need a high attack speed, but it's not just the primary attack speed, it is a 40% projectile attack speed. So we can use it and utilize it with the Chain Spear. The Shackled Fate gives us that passive ancient that spams the spears. Those are projectiles, they get the full 40% bonus and are very fast and an additional damage source. And they proc with the Barbarian Talons the 20% additional damage we can deal once the enemy is hit by the chains. So high damage itself and boosting all of our other damages we have. Coming to the combo 4, we have the Rending Bite. It is again for the Lacerate. Both Lacerate main hands, by the way, should be awakened. If you can manage somehow, do it. 20% additional damage you get by this from our primary attacks. Okay, Rending Bite. In addition, it has a bleed. So we can, as we are using Wrath anyway, use the Falling Thunder to get another 28.5% damage boost for every damage we dealing to that enemy that bleeds. Very, very nice. And those are the 4 combos to maximize our damage output. As just highlighted, we have picked the Squirm Skull. So many say, okay, why not pick the new Ascent, the Wrath helmet with a critical hit chance. The point is, and I've tested it, the damage output for those 2 means here you see the first one just for demonstration with the Squirm Skull. I get a higher damage output with that attack speed because of the reasons I told you. If you have more attacks actually delivered, you get the shoulder bonus with the extra attack and you get the full potential out of the counter attack from the Bergbreaker. So check out. We will now switch it to the crit helmet, and you will see that overall, of course, the damage is pretty similar. And trust me, I tested it very often. It's not just this one thing here. I did it for demonstration. I tested it 10, 20 times, whatever, to just check if the damage really differs. And yes, it always differs. It gives me 10 to 20 million less damage with the crit helmet. Still, that is very nice. Both are very good options, okay, don't get me wrong, but the Squirm is just performing slightly a bit better, and that's why I'm picking it. So when you see here overall we did, I don't know, 51 million, and the first try we did nearly 60 million. We lose 10 million just by the difference of those 2 essences. For the sets, we are going with a classic. We have the 4-piece Baron to get the 30% increase harmful effect duration. That means even for our Sunder, we have a 100% uptime of the Sunder with that 2-piece bonus, and the 3-piece bonus, of course, to get us another 20% damage. Then we have 2-piece Banquet for the 50% increase of damage, and the 2-piece Vithus for 30% increased beneficial effect durations, so that all of our skills have a 100% uptime. those are working pretty good. They have one disadvantage: you can't apply any loss of control to the raid bosses or to dungeon bosses. So there is one variation here for the raids. It focuses more on the damage itself. We have a 4-piece Vithus to get another 30% attack speed. That's again still very nice, even with the Squirm and the Ardent Fervor. This attack speed stacks and benefits our primary attack, so we do deal more damage. We go with the 2-piece Banquet for the 50% damage increase, and now 2-piece Shalbaas for another 50% damage increase. We do not have 100% uptime of the Sunder anymore, but those two sets make it good. We still have nearly the same damage output, a bit less of course, otherwise this would be the all-round set, a bit less, but it's still working pretty good. And we're dealing the damage now to raid bosses, so that's why we are going for this. Okay, and overall, what can we do for sets? I mean, there are so many sets to use for all the different purposes, and I know that not all of you have the time to farm each and everything with the right sockets, with the right stats on it, fortitude, strength, and so on. So we need to really utilize what you have. So I made you a list here focusing on which set and which combination do benefit our DPS. So single target damage or just high damage output, which can we use for crowd, farming, you know, terror rifts, open world, and so on. And what can we use for PvP, so that you get an idea of what you could use best here. We start with the DPS. Of course, as we just said, a Banquet of 2-piece is really nice. It's nearly easy to activate with any bleeder we have, so it's good. 4-piece Grace, very nice set, but for a special occasion as DPS, if your beneficial effect and cooldown is so high that you don't need the Vithus anymore, then you can go with a 4-piece Grace here. That's very, very effective for just this case. Vithus, 2-piece of course for the effect duration, 4-piece for the attack speed. Very nice. Baron 4-piece, always good to have higher duration and damage. Shalbaas 2-piece for primary builds. And Winter, of course, if you have any chill in there or freezing and going for a freeze build. And Seeds if you go for anything with a wall. For wall builds, Seeds is very, very nice. So you can go with any combination. Pick a 2-piece Banquet, 2-piece Shalbaas, 4-piece Vithus. Pick a 4-piece Baron, 4-piece Grace if you don't need the beneficial effect duration. Go with a Baron 4-piece and Winter 2-piece, Vithus 2-piece. You know, any of those combination here works really nice and give you a good damage output. So we're going over to the crowd damage. Now Banquet comes into place with a 6-piece, very effective to kill a large group of mob. Grace with a 4-piece now to get that 5-hit extra hit with all of the dots you might use for crowd to farm easily, open world with Torment, Viper, Bile, and so on. Vithus 2-piece, always good for the duration. Baron 4-piece, always nice to deal a good amount of damage. And Winter 4-piece now if you go for a farming build with the freeze, and again the 2-piece Seeds if you have any wall in here. Again, any combination works. Of course 4-piece and 6-piece is not possible, but you get the idea, I think. Going over to the PvP, again, Banquet 6-piece is really good. It's of course for the higher resonance, it's especially good. They have a good armor penetration, they have a good potency to make it really hurt like hell. That's 6-piece bonus, but it's still valid for all of the resonance, but for them it works best. Grace 4-piece, nice support builds can be done with that because it stops bandages, you know, with that extra hit. It's a good utility set to pick. Now we have the first time our mount banks with a 4-piece to be tanky, so it's a tank build. Vithus 2-piece, of course, we need it in PvP for the Undying Rage. There's no way to go around it. Baron 4-piece to any dot build to make them last longer. It's very nice, and to have a good damage output again here. And Winter 4-piece for the freeze PvP builds where you have that cleaves. around you. Gloom 4-piece, first time we can actually benefit from Gloom. It is of course possible in open world farm as well with any leap build or so on, but they are really clunky, so I wouldn't prefer that leap build in any PvE content. It's possible, some might have fun, but it's more common to use it in PvP. And there you can have the 4-piece, of course, with a good crit boost, damage boost from the Gloom. And seeds 4-piece, nice thing if you have any utility disrupt wall build where you could utilize the seeds to actually make it deal a lot of damage. When we look at all of these sets, we have some winners. Of course. So if you are going into a new difficulty, Inferno difficulty or what, I'm looking for those sets. Banquet, Grace, Vithus, Baron. So this is what I farm first, because with that I can easily build every possible build with the new essences, with the new stuff. Those 4 sets are the main focus for our Barbarian. If you are focused heavily on PvP, amount will be in there. If you love to play freeze builds, you will go for the Endwinter first. And if you're going for any wall stuff because you say wall is my most favorite, I play it in PvE a lot, go for the seeds set. But that you get an idea that you don't have to farm everything, you have a focus in here and you know which parts to keep. For our max damage build, I did a small test regarding the attack speed bonus to see if a 6-piece Shalbaas can maybe be a real, I don't know, burst damage dealer, to have a very high output in that first 10 to 12 seconds. And I expected a lot from it, to be honest, but sadly it did not perform that good, okay? The other Baron combo or even the Shalbaas and so on really performed better. We had a regular of 5.5 million DPS output, and here we are falling down at the 4.5 very soon, and our peak at the beginning is just quite the same as we had it with the other combination. So I really tried to do everything, which set is the best, which has the highest damage output, and we still are stacking to the Baron. It is one of the highest damage outputs we can get. If you are crazy like that Mobilux guy and look at his cooldowns, it's out of the ordinary. Really, he's having really no cooldowns. He could go with the 4-piece Baron, 4-piece Grace, and if he goes with that build and that combination, that will be totally crazy. Okay, but now we are coming to one of the most difficult topics, because it's very often not related to farm, it is related to money, to real invest into the game. That gems. Of course, many of you are asking me, can I use that one? Can I switch that gem with this one? What should I do here to get the best result? And so on. And I know that it is really heavy to tackle. So what I try to do is, I try to do a gem ranking for PvE damage, okay? PvE damage, not for PvP. That would look totally different. But for PvE damage, to give you some kind of guidance where you can find your gems and get an idea if you could switch that one out or not. So classic S, A, B, C tier ranking, and I start with S tier. Of course, Berserker is still S tier, sadly, but yes, it has a very good performance because of a damage multiplier. Same goes for Jade, movement speed and damage multipliers. Damage multipliers are the shit. You should go for that gems. So then we have crit. Crit is the other, crit chance of course is the other most important thing in PvE. So Mother's Lament is very nice. Then we have the Fang again, 24% damage boost ramping, but still very easy to get. Pain Clasp again 24%. Roiling Consequence, nice gem because of a dot that we get in addition to the crit chance. And then one of the craziest gems is the Gloom Cask. This one is out of the box because it stacks with primary attacks, so it takes our attack speed into account. And the faster we are, the heavier this gem hits, and this is what we want. We want scaling gems. This is really nice. Then Power and Command is still, in my opinion, an S tier, because it is a damage multiplier. Yes, it switches between skill and primary attack, so in the end you could say you don't have 4%, you only have 12%, but it is at least not a 1-star, it is a 2-star, and it has a Gem Ressonance that gives you additional 3% primary damage. This gem is still S tier in my opinion. Going over to the A ones, we have the Bottled Hope. It has a damage multiplier as well, but you need to have the gem very high to get the full potential, so I put it only to A. It's still a very nice gem. Echoing Shade as well has the duplicates that deal damage and profits from your primary damage, so you can have a good amount of damage with that as well. The new one, the Grim Rhythm, is nice. It's for me not S tier because we already have a lot of attack speed, and this gem does not scale nicely with the attack speed, so you cannot put it on top or anything. It has nearly no effectiveness in our build here that I show you. It doesn't change the attack speed much. You could think about, but then I can switch something, yeah, but then you lose damage for that position. So if you don't have one of the gems above, you can take this one, then it's good. Okay, then we have the Concentrated Will. It is related to a dash, so Sunder, it's kind of a dash. You get that damage bonus from this gem as well. Plus it has a higher resonance, so it's good for putting in a high resonance gem. Not many high resonance gems, nearly none, have a damage multiplier, only the Jade, so that too are really good for PvE. Then we have the Cutthroat. It's really cool as well because it gives you another crit chance, but you have to be behind the enemy, so it's kind of a bit complicated to play. But if you are dashing around a lot or whatever, this gem is really nice. Then we have the Eye of the Unyielding. It's a good damage bonus as well, mostly focused on continual damage, and wall builds and so on. Freeze builds are profiting from it a lot. It's a good damage gem, but it's not boosting the primary, so it's not S. Salads is nice. Again, we have a condition in here. You need to kill an elite first, then you get this bonus, but it's pretty long. It holds for a minute or something. It's really nice, and then you get, I think, the same bonus as a Berserker. Nearly the same, not that different. Void Spark still, it could count as a dot, of course, because it has that every second hit to all of the enemies. But it is a bit better than a dot because it hits enemies automatically. You don't have to actually go to that enemy. The gem is doing that for you with that chain lightning. It hits the enemies for you, so it's better than the regular dot gems. Why are dot gems in B tier? There you can find all of them. The Bile, the Viper, the Torment. Because dot gems just hit once every second. And that's not a lot. Their damage need to be so high, like a Banquet or something, that it actually would help you to deliver a burst. But the damage of those are really low, and just once a second. So that's why they will never be a part of a good DPS build, of a good damage build. They are good for farming. They are good for PvE to passively kill enemies. Of course, definitely. Nice gems. By the way, all of those gems in the screen I'm showing you are relevant for Barbarian. That's why you will find in B and C tier now gems that seem not relevant for damage. Yes, of course, because I wanted to show you all gems that are relevant for Barbarians in this, or for melees to be honest, in this chart, and give you an idea how to rank them in the damage context. Okay, so dot gems, nah, not that nicely. Starfire is something still B tier because it has a very high initial burst damage, but just once every 20 seconds, and you lose a slot by this. So that 200 at rank 1% damage, it is something. If that crits, cool blow. Then we have Pebbles. If you have any issue with your duration of your skills, then this one is relevant, of course, but otherwise not. The Carsons, attack speed, again, scaling not nicely, but if you are lacking attack speed, then this is your thing. The Hilt of the Many Realms gives you additional 5 hits for every skill you're using, but then you have the cooldown again, same as the Starfire, good burst, but then meh. Stormvault, again, the issue of the dot, but Stormvault at least has a 0.5 second attack, so double the speed, but only half the damage. So that's why, again, it's not scaling with our primary attack in any way. That's why it's not that good. Coming over to the C or yeah, not relevant gems for damage, still very valid for Barbarian or melee. Spiteful Blood, cool thing, but not boosting our damage. Moss Thorn is a nice thing. It could spread via a Viper, a Banquet Dot, so it has some importance. Misery Elixir, very good for boosting the duration of negative effects. Scorn, again a gem for dealing some burst damage every 6 seconds. Frozen Heart, Battle Guard, good defense gems, but not dealing very much damage, only as a counter attack, a counter chill. And the Maw, again, same as the Starfire, but again, less damage, more focused on CC. Good. Brings us to 2 new gems we just heard of in the patch notes, the WULFHEORT and the Entropic Well. Both of them are nice. The WULFHEORT, by the way, I instantly thought about it in S tier, because it brings the same benefit as a Gloomcask. It scales with our primary attack, or with our attacks at all, so with every dot tick and so on, because every 5 hits it deals an additional damage. So that is nice. I think this will boost the damage of players a lot. Entropic Well, on the other side, is a basic gem like the Berserkers. It's boosting the skill damage, not the primary damage, or the damage overall, just the skill, but that could be utilized in some builds very, very, very good. And one thing that is important is the Gem Ressonance. Means the additional gems you can equip once you hit the rank 5 of the gems. No matter which gem, rank 1 star, 2 star, 5 star, whatever, you can then equip other stuff. And as you see for the Berserkers, for the 1 star, you can equip 2 other gems. In this case, you need 10 points to reach that 3% additional primary attack damage. So you need to equip 2 1 stars at rank 5 to get that 10 points. That means 2 times 50 gem power. You need to upgrade a gem to rank 5. That means 30 gem power overall, and if you count it with an average price of 400 to 500, 450 platinum, it's on my market, on my server currently, for a 1 star at the market, you would get to 13,500 platinum to get that 3% additional primary attack damage. You could do it, I think, in an average damage build on 4 of the gems, which means you get 12% additional primary attack damage with this possibility. Same goes for 2 stars, because there you need a rank 5 1 star and a rank 3 2 star to get to that initial 10 points. This is the same 30 gem power, again 30,500 platinum. One thing to mention here is you can easily farm that stuff with the blue crests. Get them wherever you have the chance, from events, from hilt, from whatever. Those blue crests make that way easy. You can easily farm those resonance gems and build them up. So go for this, it's a good opportunity to increase your damage. Paragon Trees. Paragon Trees are something where a lot of discussion is happening, and many people do not know which Paragon should I use, should I switch it, and which one gives the best damage. So what I did is I prepared for you some setups for PvE, burst and damage and farm, and for PvP for damage, tank and a mixed Paragon Tree, to make it maybe a bit easier for you to decide which one to pick. We go with the PvE burst one, and I think the Harbinger in this case is very, very underrated, because if you look at the perks or the summary, it gives you a 30% damage boost and a 34% crit chance boost, especially for our DPS build we are using here. It triggers with a dash, and this is something that I think is not clear enough, but the Sunder in this case is a dash and it procs that bonus. So with the Sunder you can get this 30% on both easily and can activate it. Of course it's available for I think 5 seconds, and but it gets affected by the beneficial effect duration, so you get 7 to 8 seconds out of it overall where this boost is active. It's really nice, right? And it has a very good burst output. For PvE damage, for an overall build, you could always go with a Slinger. It has a very good boost as well, gives you 50% damage boost and a 60.5% crit chance boost. This one is more stable. It is you can use it all of the times easily, okay, and you don't have to think much. Important is that it should be included in a primary attack build. If it's not a primary attack build, then you cannot use it because you need to switch between a skill and primary, of course. And then this one is pretty solid as well. For farming, I would go into the Vanquisher. Vanquisher gives you the bonus of the additional loot, the additional experience, so it's good for farming and for leveling. This one is a tree you can easily pick when you have any farming build that includes a wall or a freeze where you just want to run by the enemies. You don't hit, you just dot and wall them somewhere and you're not primary hitting anything. Then this build is very nice, and you can include this one skill where you get that guaranteed crit hit every 5 mobs. That means every time you approach a new mob, your first hit gets crit, and this is nice to just clear mobs very fast and efficient. We're going over to PvP damage. For PvP damage, the Harbinger is nice as well, because you can get a shield, you can get a crit chance from this Harbinger, the 40% crit chance, just by using any sprint or any wrath movement that gets you to 60-70% movement speed. Then the Harbinger kicks in and can do a good thing. You get a shield and you get some immunity here. It's good for the new Hota builds or any freeze builds. There you can really leverage the Harbinger. But if you want something more tanky, you want to tank the idol, then of course the Brawler is your build. It is good for any spot task builds or anything where you say, I'm too weak, I'm going down too fast. Brawler is good for you. You get 8% HP and size, so you are faster, and you get overall a 30% damage reduction through all of the skills and a 25% shield when you approach enemies. So that makes you really tanky. The mix build here is straightforward Gladiator with a cheat death proc and the Grizzled Veteran. That means with the bonus of the Grizzled Veteran, once you kill someone, you can get an increase of 12% damage. Why is 12% damage not the PvP damage build? Because crit chance in PvP is more important than damage, because if you get a crit chance, you get a crit hit, and crit hit ignores any armor of the enemy or anything. It just hits, cannot be blocked or anything. This is the real damage for PvP. You want crit chance. But if you crit hit them, or if you're high resonance or higher resonance, whatever, and do some regular hits whatsoever, then of course damage helps as well. It is nice, but crit hit is just more important. Okay, and of course you have your second life here with the cheat death. It's a good solid build for PvP. Now we have 3 new skills here. That should be available now for every one of you. Even if you're not there, if you're missing 4 or 8 points, just ignore it, kick them out of the tree and get those new skills active. We have 3 things. Lightning Rod, that gives us an extra damage, AoE damage every 30 seconds. We have the Roaring Strike, that gives us a primary focused knockback. That means if we run and hit, we get a charging skill, that a ramping up skill that guarantees us a knockback. Not so important for us barbarians here, to be honest. Yeah, for some immunity builds where you primary hit someone, it could be interesting, but I think it's sadly, as we are not primary hitting too much, it's too good, and many people run around with immunity. So yeah, if we can really land it, I don't know, and it does no damage or anything, it's okay. But I think it's for the most of the builds not that valid. Benefactor, it's a shield for when you use a buff skill every 30 seconds, I think, is the worst, because all of you barbarians running around there, you instantly kick in your sprint or wrath to be at the idol fast. By this you're already proccing your shield, and once you reach the idol it's gone. So Yeah, of course, if you survive for a while, you can use it in that pit again, but honestly, half of the time of the game, you will not benefit from that skill. So, in my opinion, Lightning Rod is the real thing. It gives you a nice AoE damage, helps a bit, and is better than 10 or 20 armor penetration you could get right now. So, go for Lightning Rod, in my opinion. So for Harbinger, because I posted to you that PvE burst damage, there is a second possible combination you could do if you're using it for dungeon clears or anything. So if you switch out the 20% movement improvement and switch it with the ambush refreshing, so every time we refresh the we kill a monster while we dashed, while the ambush is active, then the ambush refreshes. That means we killed an enemy, it's active now, and once our Sunder is active again and we can use it again, and you see it now here, we dash again and we get the bonus again. So we are, every time when our Sunder is active again, we get 30% damage and 27% crit chance here. This is really cool. 30% for everything it's just insane, and we have it available nearly all of the time. With the Paragon, we covered the main key points for our max damage 300 DPM build. So I will share here the build overview that you can copy it easily, and let's go through it very quickly to repeat some things. Skills: Lacerate, Sprint, Wrath, and Chained and Sunder. Sunder is a dash to help us later on. For the gems, we need the Roiling and the Lamet for crit. We need the Gloom Cast because it's scaling heavily good with primary attacks, and we need damage booster gems like the Fang and the Pain Clasp. For Paragon, we pick the Harbinger because we can get a 30% damage and 34% crit chance increase with every Sunder we are doing for nearly 7 seconds. So it's a heavily good damage boost for us. For the Essences, we want a speed to boost our Bergbreaker counter attack and our Nature's Temper extra attack per primary. So we go with the Squirm Skull and we go with the Ardent Fervor to get that speed. We are using the Rending Bite and the Falling Thunder to get an additional damage boost from the Bleed and another damage tick. And we use the Shackled Fate with the Buried Talons to get another damage tick from the Chains and the damage boost from it. And with that, the Bergbreaker as a counter attack that gets triggered by ourselves by the Nature's Temper with every primary attack, is dealing a heavy blow of damage. So this is for the Essences sets: 4-piece Baron, 2-piece Vithus, 2-piece Banquet. This is what we are doing here to get the most damage out of it. The variation again with the 4-piece Vithus, 2-piece Banquet, 2-piece Shalbaas. If you're going for raid bosses that will not get affected by the slow of the Shackled Fate. Lastly, go for the Eternal attribute with the Wrath AoE damage that gives you with 4 pieces an 80% chance to deal that every 0.5 seconds 10k AoE attack. This is working really good and is a huge blow of extra damage you can deal just passively. Now that we are set on the build, on the sets, Paragon and so on, we want to go through the other details that help you to maximize your damage. So we start with pets. Pets are important, and focus here on the PvE pet and then PvP as well. In this case, I like for melee the Brutallion is very much because he has that ignition and deals a good dot. Has a very long effect duration on his skill. And for PvP we go with the cat because of the shield. This is really good. We start with the PvE and with the S tier and free to play. What we want as skills on that pet are 3 things. Lingering Wounds, which on a base, so it's always dependent to the stats of the pet, but as a base it has a 27.5% increased damage for 3 seconds that you actually deal to that enemy affected by the status of the pet. And the Vigor Bloom, again, once the pet uses a skill, you get a 4.5% increased damage for 2 seconds from the pet skill. So those two are triggered with the pet's skill. That means the more often the pet can use his skill, the better. So what we want as a third skill is a tenacity, that gives us a cooldown reduction of 15.5%. Those three are nice. They are legendaries. They are expensive. So if you have them, be happy. If you get them for cheap, do it. But mostly for free to play, we want those 3 skills as well. And as you see, they are not so bad. 16% instead of 27, 3.3% you can get easily with a bit of a good stat instead of 4.5, and tenacity nearly 11% cooldown reduction. So even as free to play with 3 yellow skills, they are already very valid. And how to get that we will look at now. What you want is you could buy them if you save the platinum. Pets are really cheap right now. So you need 4 pets overall. You need a good base pet, which is a Brutalion. It should be yellow. It should have a good stat. Then we start with the 1 skill pet with a Vigor Bloom. That gets you can buy a cheap one here. We need 1 pet then with 2 skills with a tenacity, and then we need a 3rd pet, all normal of course, with 3 skills that includes the lingering wounds. The combination is doesn't matter. The point is you need 3 pets and each one needs 1 yellow skill more, including the skills of course you want, and then we start merging. So we go. I bought myself a Brutalion that has a high insight, because insight benefits those skills the most. So I searched for a cheap yellow Brutalion with 1 yellow skill just that has a high skill here, that I get a good increase of those skills. Then I merge it with the first one. I merge it then step by step with the 2 skill, then with the 3 skill pet, to get in the end my perfect combination here with the lingering wounds, the vigor, and the cooldown reduction. And I want an ignition here because I want to deal as much damage with the pet that I can. Overall you can do it I think with 3 pets already. The point is your starting pet, the yellow one with a good stat, if you can buy it with a proper skill already, it will get cheaper, but I in this case didn't found any, so I bought one with a random skill and then applied the other ones. Coming back to our overview, we now have a very good PvE pet with the 3 skills. We already have now a nice damage output with whatever we do in PvE. For PvP it's a bit different. For PvP on free to play, even on free to play, we need a savior. You need a pet with a savior. Don't care for anything else on the pet, just buy yourself a pet with savior skill. This will increase your fun in PvP a lot. It will save your ass a lot of times. For the S tier, if you want to go further, there are 4 skills here that really benefit your game style. It's a soul shield, of course, that gives you another absorb shield, the siphon that gives you a life leech here to heal you. Steel hide is very nice. Your block chance get increased every time your pet uses his skill. In this case, if you get a cat with that counter attack shield is especially good, because it's one of the best PvP pets. And then the blind side is really nice as well. That makes you immune to any knockback for a few seconds. So those are really good for the PvP. One last thing that you should look at are the traits. Your pets have those traits, and those bring you in addition some advantages, mostly focused on damage. You can get a huge boost from them. You need yellow pets help as well, but they cannot be stacked, the skills on the legendary traits, those can be stacked, and this is where the fun begins. So see, I have a Bestial Might here. It gives me a 1.5% additional primary attack damage, and if I would have another legendary pet with the trait Bestial Might, it would already increase to 4.5%, which is a huge thing. So if you check out this one here, it's just a screenshot from any other video. But there you see it with the MAME that increases your critical hit chance. And here it's stacked 3 times. So that means it's, or 4 times I think even, it's an 8% increased critical hit chance just from that. So whenever you get your hands on those traits, on those active traits, so they need to be active, otherwise they're useless. You see it that there is a value of a stat that is required to make it active, so your pet need to have that value. So if you have any pets there with active, keep them, because it's a huge boost to your damage in the end. And while testing all of my damage, max damage builds, I found one issue with the pets at the puppet, and I think that's important to mention as well. Sometimes if you attack the puppet, and as you see here, my pet is just standing beside me. It's doing nothing. And this is really an issue, because you think you're doing your max damage, but your pet is just inactive. What you can do in here is, of course, if you not have set it to aggressive, you need to do that. But if it's not working on the pet, just log out, wait for a few seconds, then enter the vault again and repeat. If you do that, you will see that now once you attack the puppet, your pet will get this little circle above its head, and that means I've used my skill, I'm in cooldown now, and you can see when the cooldown runs off. And now you're benefiting from all of the profits from that lingering wounds and so on. That bug really should be fixed too. Curses are the next thing where you should really have a look at, because optimizing your damage includes now the curses, and there are 3 curses for damage that are most important. It's the Detested, the Lashed, and the Atrophied. Those 3 brings you the best benefit. For max DPM, so damage per minute, where you want to have a constant damage output of the whole thing, you go with a 6-piece Detested. 6-piece gives you the dot damage itself, the 24% damage tick, but it gives you at 4 pieces a 6% and at 6 pieces a 12% total damage increase versus every enemy within that field, and that field is pretty large. And this is the point why we want that Detested, because over that time we get a huge increase of every damage we deal. And in addition, we take a 2-piece Lashed. Lashed at least gives us another 24% damage tick over 3 seconds, and that gets activated every 30 seconds. So that means every 30 seconds, same as we the cooldown of the Detested, we get both twice in that minute. Or nearly 3 times at the end of the minute we get it again. We get the best output for the whole period of time. For the max burst, I would go with a 4-piece Detested, 2-piece Lashed, and 2-piece Atrophied, because we want that initial damage, and there we can get 3 times that 24% damage tick plus the 6% overall increased damage, and that together, those 3 are giving the highest burst at the initial seconds to, I don't know, kick the full first phase of a boss, to kick him down or anything. For allround, this is something where you say, okay, I need that damage available all the time, I don't want to wait anything or something. There I would go with a 6-piece Lashed, because they have then a cooldown of only 9 seconds. You can use them very often versus nearly any enemy you are fighting. And in addition, I would go with the 2-piece Detested, because here and there you can spam that field Luckily in the right time, if not whatever, because it has a very huge range. I would do that rather than going with the Atrophied. It has a smaller range, so even if you are just hitting a mob, your chance of getting another mob standing a bit far from you is very high and just damaging all of the guys in the circle. So for curses, would be my proposal for you to get damage curses. And together with the curses, there's another small tweak you can do to increase your primary damage. It's your charm, of course. You see I focused on frenzy a lot in the past. Now I need to focus on lacerate. I just have a 2% damage on that. So the lowest percentage you can get. So what I do is I just filter for that skill I want to have at the market and buy the first one I can get. In this case there was none, but I already had one, and I go to the craftsman and try to upgrade my gem. You can do this by the imbue feature. You need to select the one you want to replace and see I have one here already, and yeah, you just roll the dice. Whenever you get the same skill again, you have a chance of getting the same or a higher bonus. In this case I was lucky, I'm now on 4%. So 2% additional damage for every primary attack I'm doing. And by this, step by step, you can get a higher skill. It's a lot of gamble, definitely, but use your charm to upgrade here. Kick everything else and only upgrade your primary. One of the more recent topics, runes. Runes are very nice and yeah, again a huge boost for our whole setup. We start with the blue ones. I think they're pretty cheap to get now. If you're looking for runes, those are the things you want to have. You can get an overall with those three, and please don't judge my pronunciation, I just try to go with the Eke, the Drow and the Ray. You have a movement speed of 4%, a damage of 4% you can get, damage with leads of 4% and a HP of 3%, because those three can each be equipped twice. So this is the base setup that you should at least have with blue runes. Gives you, each of them gives your base attribute of the equipped slot of boost of 5%. So this is an overall 5% damage increase. It's nice to have. Better are the yellow ones. Those are really now hitting the spot. You can have your primary attack boosted by 9%, which is heavy. Elite damage by 4%, attack speed by 4%, beneficial effect duration by 9%, and the skill damage by 6%. For that you need the Urs, the Tür, and the Far. Whoa. Yeah, but they now, instead of 5, boosting your base attribute here of the slot by 6%. So if you have a life or damage on this part, then you have 6% of that more. Those are, I think, already high end. Okay, I think those yellow ones are really, really good. Nevertheless, you can even go further. You can go to the red ones. Here you get a crit chance increase of 8% overall, elite damage of 8% overall. Again, attack speed of 4%. We are switching from beneficial effect to cooldown reduction of 8%. Cooldown reduction is normally harder to get, so that's why it's considered a bit better, but beneficial is already good. So the Auth rune is not, in my opinion, too important instead of the Tür rune. What I like is the left rune, the critical damage of 12%. This is really something, and it's, in my opinion, it's far better than the skill damage of 6%. So yeah, go for those three whenever you get them by luck or anything. Those are really nice. 8% now boost of the base attribute. But if you have the yellow ones, I think this is already a really nice goal to go for, because they are already boosting your primary attack heavily. And you lose that 9%, but you get 8% crit chance, and we will learn later on that crit chance always kicks primary attack. We are coming to the attribute focus, and I think that is very important, but sometimes even hard to understand. There are three things I want to tell you here, and go over some other things later on. But first we go with the first important rule. You need blue sockets to deliver max damage. There's no option to go with a 2-slotted item. You need 3 slots if 3 slots are possible. There's no option to go with yellow or red rings. You need blue slotted rings. You need sapphires in there as hell, okay? Of course, you need to find a good ratio between sapphires and aquamarines, but sapphires here are the key. They give you fortitude. With fortitude, you deal higher crit damage, and this is where the base damage comes from in this game. Okay, you need that crit damage. So go with sapphires, go with maximum 3 slotted items, and then we are all happy. Next thing is, would you prefer a 3-stat item or a 2-stat item, even if both include your primary focus, so your fortitude and strength in this case? This is what we need to deal the max damage, fortitude and strength. What would you prefer? For sets, I think it's a bit easier, because for sets, for dealing damage, the magic attributes do not matter too much. Yes, you want cooldown reduction here and there and beneficial effect duration, yes, definitely. But on the legendary items, it's a bit more difficult, because they are all the cool magic items like crit chance, primary damage, and so on. But in here, the point is which one to choose now, and there's an easy thing to understand. When you click on your combat rating, and as a 3-stat item will always have a higher combat rating than a 2-stat item, okay? This is important. You are lacking at least 60 to 70 on the same quality combat rating. And what is important? More fortitude from the 2-stat item, it has nearly 900, or more combat rating from the 3-stat item, which is just 650 fortitude. And this is easy to see. If you click on the combat rating in your settings, you will see that there is an explanation that says that all of your damage gets increased by your combat rating to a certain degree. In this case, on Inferno 2, you see it is boosted by 11%. And there's one thing you need to know. This percentage is capped. It's capped at 11.3%. Then your damage can't get any higher, no matter how high your combat rating will get. 11.3% will not be raised by any way. So if I switch to Inferno 3, you will see I only have 8% damage increase here. So for Inferno 3, it would be good to increase my combat rating, choosing the 3-stat item before the 2-stat. On Inferno 2, to boost my damage, I would prefer the 2-stat item, because there I get a higher fortitude, and by that a higher crit damage. So you see the point. If you have a good combat rating and you get to that 11% already, pick the 2-piece. If you are below it, pick the 2-stat, pick the 3-stat now, okay? Whenever you have the choice, of course. But for some who are confused, this could be an easy thumb rule to get you through this. When we are looking at the attributes now that you can get, especially on the legendary items, because there the cooler stuff happens, to be honest, you see that 6 of our slots are focused on damage, and only 2 of the slots are focused on defense. Means damage reduction, beneficial effect duration, life increase, and so on. And the other 6 are all focused on damage. So, which magic attributes are the most important ones, especially for our damage-focused build? So I listed you down the most important ones here. We have the crit hit chance. This is the most crucial ones. A high crit hit chance boosts your damage like crazy. It is more important than the primary attack damage, even if we are going for a primary attack build. Why? Because crit hit boosts our primary attack indirectly by doing a crit hit, but it boosts every other attack that we're doing as well. Every dot, every chain, every additional hit. Primary attack just boosts that single hit. That's why crit hit is always more important than primary attack. Next is the crit hit damage. It's important as well, but the primary attack itself is the base damage that gets then multiplied by the crit boost. And that one to increase that is more important. even because the increase here, the range that we can get is a lot higher. So primary attack damage can get up to 6%, I think, crit hit just to 2 or 3. So it's in that order. Then damage done in party, it's really nice. It is on some items, and that sometimes can be on sets as well. It's a cool thing. It's a bit downrated because, yeah, when you're running solo, you don't have anything of it. But if you're running in a group, it could be pretty strong. And then lastly, skill damage, because it is just a lower aspect of our damage sources. Still, it is a good thing to go. But there's one thing that beats all of them. It's the eternal affix of our Wrath of the Berserker, that AoE. If you get that and get a 20% chance increase to get that 10k hit, then go for it, okay? Hopefully you have other stuff of that list in there as well, but that skill is really good for dealing damage. And another 10k hit could be crit, could get to 30,000-40,000 damage. That one is just too good to leave it out. We are coming closer to the end, and we start to talk about Reforge settings. And hopefully my voice will last, because it's slowly fading, but bear with me, okay? So for Reforge settings, I decided to go for 4 different types: PvE damage, PvP damage, PvP tank, and PvP utility. You can now use the 2 different loadouts here to save your settings, and we will start with the PvE damage. In my opinion, the best one is a 6-piece Vengeance, because here you get really damage boosting attributes. You have attack speed, you have damage to enemies suffering from loss of control, and then for the third one you can decide if you want to go to a general one or want to boost your PvE damage. I go for damage to demons, because with that I really have a heavy output in some PvE situations. 6 times that bonus means your cooldown reduction for the overall bonus goes down, which is that you do 100% extra damage for 1 second. That can be boosted by the beneficial effect duration, so you get to 1.5, 1.7, or I don't know, something like that, where you deal double the damage. It's not really double the damage, but it is a huge amount of extra damage you're doing from that one every 13 seconds if you go for the 6-time bonus. So it's a really cool thing. You can use it 4 or 5 times in your 1 minute damage, and it will boost your damage a lot. And then, because there is no beneficial again from going 7 or 8 times, I'm going 2 times with the wildfire bonus, where I get my primary attack, the damage done to enemies below 30% life, and the crit hit damage increase. Those 3 are a good combo. Of course, then I have on all of the parts 2 slots left, and I take 8 times the beneficial effect duration, and I pick 8 times the primary attack damage, so that I have the highest possible outcome for our PvE damage build. For PvP damage, it's nearly the same. Okay, there's no big difference. The only thing is I switch out the damage to demons with the damage to shielded enemies, because having 6 times damage to shielded enemies is a lot. It's, what is it, 36% in max, of course, that you deal to the shielded enemies. And if you think about all of the Tempests jumping around with their shields and so on, it's really good to have, because everyone now uses a shield, even if it's just coming from the cat, or if it's coming from the new beneficial or benefactor Paragon tree. People are having a lot of shields recently, so that damage will help you to getting those down. For PvP tank, this is especially important for our spot task, idle sitting builds. Here we go with the barrier, where we say, okay, we have a maximum life increase, we have damage taken for nearby enemy decrease, and a block chance. Block chance is awkwardly good working, honestly. You can pick that 6 times, and as a bonus you get a shield every 13 seconds. A shield is really good to have here to make you even tankier. And then we have 2 times the jolt, Again, it is damage reduction from players, from when you're suffering from any loss of control. And the point is, you have here the duration of beneficial effect again. That means that you don't need to actively pick that as one of your 5 or your 2 leftover skills, so you have some wildcard opportunity here to pick in some damage or some other extra skill that helps you a bit. And lastly, we go to the PvP utility. That's one I played a very long time. It's the Tremor bonus to have continual damage taken reduced, the stun and the knockback resistance increased. That means those things stacked nicely. Yeah, will be strived in PvP. We think, and there's no real evidence, but we think so. But you get a good amount of immunity here, so every third or fourth hit will not actively bring you into any CC situation. And combined with the Gladiator, where you get a CC immunity, or with the Harbinger, you can get a decent immunity to half of the CC effects that would hit you. But yeah, you're still very yeah, you can still be attacked very easily, so you should have some passive damage here if you go for that. And I combine that with the Wildfire, because here you then get a little bit of damage increase, so you're a bit immune, you're a bit of doing some damage, you have kind of an all-round situation build to deliver in PvP. Besides from Warband, where you need to pick Attacker to get your max damage, and maybe changing your stance on your initial puppet approach to benefit from that boost, there's not much to say anymore. I know a lot of things to tweak around, but guys, that's the fun of the game. So, I hope this video helps you, fellow barbarians and other monks, satyrs, tempests and so on, to reach your personal best damage. Feel free to leave me a like and subscribe to get more content like this. And if you have any questions or do not agree, then let's keep on the discussion in the comments. See you there.